Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello. Welcome to the September Convertri update. Let's do the usual quick sound checks first of all. Can you just stick your name in the chat, or just let me know where you're from, just to make sure that make sure you can hear me okay, and that the screen is displaying for you. Cool, looks good. We have lots of people here, and everyone is saying they can hear me okay, which is convenient. It's going to make this an awful lot easier. So we have, I think, Arizona, UK, Georgia, Martha's Vineyard, Italy, all over the world. Fantastic. Oh, and Ireland as well. That one's rather close at home. Cool. So how is everyone doing on what is over here? It's a really quite blustery September afternoon. Autumn is definitely coming. So general introductions first. I'm Neil. I'm one of the Convertri co-founders. I'm in the Facebook group quite a lot. You might have seen me around. I'm the one who looks like that with that little shadow avatar. If you're very new to Convertri, if you're very new to the Convertri group, you might not have seen me around because my last post in there was a week ago, and it was this one. So just been on holiday for a week. This is my first day back. Like it says there, went somewhere that looked absolutely nothing like that picture. Did look an awful lot like this one. I'm not really one for beaches, but if you show me a raven, I will definitely scamper to the edge of the cliff and almost kill myself trying to get a good picture of it. Fortunately, I didn't die, which was useful, because I don't think anyone else can do this webinar at short notice. However, we are not here to see my holiday snaps. We're here to talk about Convertri, so let's run through what we are going to do today. I'm going to talk through the new features that we've released over this month. I'm going to talk about what's coming up. So what we're working on at the moment, what we're hoping to release over the next few weeks. I'm going to go over anything else we're doing in the company that I think you'll be interested in, and then we'll just kind of throw it open for a general Q&A. So you can ask me anything you want about Convertri, and I will do my very best to answer. And Robin, in answer to your question, that raven did not, in fact, fall asleep on the way down, though I can see why you think it might. They do this kind of, it's really quite impressive, this like freewheeling dive thing. And this guy was just in the middle of that. He's having an awful lot of fun being a raven. Like I just caught it just before he went down below the cliff edge. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. Features that we've released this month, features that we're working on at the moment, and we're hoping to release in the next few weeks. Other like bits of Convertri news and the general Q&A. I will have the chat open while we run through this. So if there's if you've got any questions about what I'm showing, like at that time, like if I'm going a bit too fast, if there's a feature you want to see again, if you've got any other questions about the feature that I'm showing, please do feel free to put the question in there, and I'll do my best to answer. If you have a question that's more generally Convertri, if there's maybe there's a feature you're not sure how to use, that I'm not showing at the moment, like it's just a general Convertri question, or maybe you want to know if we're looking at developing something in the future, anything like that, that's absolutely fine. More than happy to answer it, but just please leave it until that final Q&A section, just so we for this first bit of the presentation doesn't get too far off track. Okay, with that said, does anyone have any questions before we get started? Cool, I think we're good, so we can crack on. Let me just switch the screen over to my Convertri account. Okay, so you should be able to see now a funnel called September 2021 with 4 pages in it. Okay, looking good. Okay, so the first feature, got a few features to show off this month. First feature that I'm going to be showing is probably the biggest one. It's something that I know a lot of people have been asking for a very long time. It's something that I know people are already finding very useful, and it's something that took us a truly ridiculous amount of back end work to make happen. It's amazing, and it's actually quite disappointing that all we've got to show for it on the front end is this little button, this little button that says republish on it. But what this does is this now lets you republish every page in your funnel. So you don't have to do it individually anymore. You can just push that button and all the previously published pages will be published again. This means if you've decided to add a new funnel script, you can stick the script in the funnel script section and just hit republish, and all your pages will be live. You don't have to publish each page individually, like I said, to get those scripts active. If you've made a change to a shared header or a shared footer, again, you can republish all your pages at once. And this will affect any page with a URL. So at the moment, you can see we've got one page here which hasn't been published because there's no little icon there. 3 pages here which have been published. You can see they've got this little tick icon to show they've been published already. You can see the URL and we hover over it. So when I hit republish, these pages will be republished and this one won't be touched because it doesn't have a URL, so Convertri doesn't know where to put it. So to see this working, we'll hit republish there. So republish all published pages. And it'll take a few seconds to do. Obviously, this one won't take that long because there's only 3 pages in the funnel. If you've got a lot of pages to publish, it could take a little while to chunt through. But that will publish all of those pages together, and it'll give you a little report at the end just showing which pages have been published. And in this case, everything is complete, everything worked fine. In the rare occasions where there is an issue with some pages, you'll see a little red X and a not published message. So if we couldn't republish that page for any reason, normally when that happens, it's just like a glitch in the matrix. If you hit the button again, 99 times out of 100, it'll work fine. If there is an actual problem with the publishing, if that keeps being a thing, send the page into support and someone will have a look. But most of the time, that's not going to come up. And you can see here that all of these have been confirmed and republished. So yeah, so I think that's going to be a really big help, to people, which is no doubt one of the reasons why it was such a popular ask. So let's go into this opt-in page to show off some of the other stuff we've got. So yeah, so that's probably I would say that republish is probably the most anticipated feature that we released in September. But there's quite a lot of other cool stuff as well. And first thing I want to talk about is this form widget, which I've added 2 email fields to because I'm an idiot. So we'll just turn one of those off. So this is our form widget system. And again, if you were here for last month's update webinar, you would have seen last month's version of this, where you had the text and email fields. I think we had the multi-line text field in there and the multi-step feature. So at that point, this widget let you build like multi-step forms within Convertri. It could also let you do stuff like two-step checkouts, like direct on the page. But we've added more field types to it. So now, as well as the fields that we had, you can also add checkboxes, and you can add drop-down fields. So these are two new field types which have now been added in. And again, just like all the other field types that we put in the widget, you have all the same settings here that you would if you were just adding it as a single element direct on the page, and they work exactly the same way. So we can assign our field type, and we'll make this one a country dropdown because that's nice and easy, and we have a pre-built dropdown for it. You can use custom dropdowns as well. Again, that works absolutely fine in the form widget. Checkboxes, say, obviously these are often quite useful for things like GDPR. Let's make that one required. So save that, and that's added in our dropdown and our checkbox. In the form settings area of the properties panel, this also adds a new option for list settings, where you have the options to change the appearance of these inputs. In this case, it's adjusting the fill color for the checkbox. So we can make that red if we wanted. I had this one as yellow to match the general theme of the page. And so we have those two new field types, which are available in the form widget, along with things like the text fields, the email fields, the credit card fields, so on. Now, I can see a couple of eagle-eyed people in the chat have spotted that there are a couple of other new things in the form widget which I haven't mentioned. So you might see here there's also a couple of other input types, and we have bump sales hiding over here as well. And that's because this is the stuff that is that's not currently available in Convertri accounts. This is the stuff that's going through the final stages of testing, because this is a test account. So that is part of the stuff we've been working on for the form widget. Like I say, it's going through the final stage of testing. That is the stuff we're expecting to release shortly. So this time next month, I'll be talking about this in the app itself. But I will be covering all that stuff in the what's coming up section of this webinar. So I'll talk you through all that, where we're up to at that point. Another feature we've done. This one, I mean, to be honest, you could argue whether this was an actual new feature or a bug fix, but either way, it's we've basically improved the handling of wrapping in text elements. So something that happened in the past was if you had a long string of text that was longer than the text box itself, then it would just be cut off on the edge. So you wouldn't get you'd only get as much as could fit in a single line of that text element, and the rest would just be cut off by the element edge. Now, this obviously didn't come up very much in desktop because elements can be quite wide. But if you had something like a URL and on mobile, this could cause some problems. So if you had even more pages / even more pages again. .html. I don't know. So now if you have a long string of text like this, rather than be cut off if the element is shrunk, now if you shrink the element so it's smaller than that, you can see that it just wraps onto the next line. So one letter at a time, it'll just slide over. So you're not going to get that cut-off effect anymore. All the text will always be visible. You can also have this as a link, and that will work. That will work fine as a link, even when it's split over multiple lines. One thing that is worth being aware of in the editor itself, the editor itself will get confused by this. Like if we hit save, you see when we are clicking into the element, you can see this is still looking like it used to with that URL being cut off. When we click out of the element, it's fine. And indeed, when we go onto the publish page, or in this case, like this page hasn't been published, we'll have a look at preview. When we have a look at the preview, you can see that still looks absolutely fine. It still works as a link. So that's nothing to worry about. Brian's saying, not sure if it's just me, but I can't see any drop-down list when you're selecting them on screen. Do you mean in the widget builder? You'll find the drop-down list there in this drop-down option. Oh wait, I think I see what you mean. Yes, go to webinar doesn't seem to be displaying the drop-downs itself. I'm just having a look at the little screen in the corner. Okay, yes, I'm not sure if there's much I can do about that. But if you go onto your own Convertri account and go where I'm clicking here, so here you'll see where it's got the drop-down option with text and add. If you click on that drop-down, I think it's because it's an in-browser drop-down rather than one that like we've coded directly in Convertri. So it's showing it as like effectively a different browser window, and obviously GoToWebinar is showing the main browser window. I think that's the issue. But if you go there, you'll be able to see the list of elements which are available. Rob is saying I've just republished all my pages and it saved me about an hour. Fantastic. I knew that feature was worth doing. Okay, where are we up to? I had just talked about the text wrapping. And yeah, so obviously that doesn't just work on URLs, it can be any text string. Like any long string of text that is like longer than the text element will like have the same effect. URLs is just where you're most likely to come into contact with it. Okay, another feature that we've added. Again, a little thing. This one's more like a UX fix, I think. So this is to do with the video element, specifically the Convertri video element. Because previously, with this element, we had a single autoplay toggle on the properties panel, And when you toggled that, it revealed these two, which are here now. So autoplay on desktop and autoplay on mobile. And this has been adjusted. So we've tried to make it a bit easier by getting rid of that general autoplay toggle and just having desktop and mobile visible directly. You can still toggle them on and off individually. So you can have the element autoplay on desktop but not on mobile if you prefer, or indeed the other way around, or both together or not at all. But we thought like having that single toggle where you switched it on and then it revealed these other two toggles, which you could adjust if you wanted. We didn't really think that was saving anyone any time. Like all it was doing was just making things a bit more awkward to find and saving a tiny little bit of space on this properties panel, which we didn't really think was worth it. So we've adjusted that so that's got the two toggles just right there. Now this only affects the Convertri video element itself. So the other video elements that are available, so like Vimeo, Wistia, so YouTube as well, they still have the single autoplay toggle, just like they did before, because these don't have the separate desktop and mobile controls. We only get that when we can directly control the player, which we can't when it's a third-party thing. So again, a pretty small fix, that one, but something that I think is, it just makes people's lives a little bit easier, especially when they're doing like a lot of video stuff. Okay, next feature. Next feature to talk about is possibly this one is probably the most technical of the lot, possibly a bit more complicated. If I say data layer to you, who's used a data layer before? Like, who knows what I'm talking about? So absolutely no shame if that's not something you've heard of before. Got to admit, I hadn't heard of it myself before. Like Andy came to me a few weeks ago and was like, "We should be putting stuff on the data layer." Cool, yeah. So certainly looks like most people here haven't heard of it, which let's say is not entirely surprising and not a problem, because I prepared slides for this one. I came prepared. Let's just switch back to the presentation. This is basically entirely back-end work. There's not really anything to see in the app itself for this. So let me explain what a data layer is and how you might use it. So a data layer is basically a way of telling your analytics system that something has happened on your page. So like a button was clicked, maybe like someone scrolled a certain length down, that kind of thing, or like maybe someone was a lead or clicked on a certain element, something like that. The way you would use a data layer is you would create a bit of custom code, like that created the event, and you would add that to your page. You can then use, like you can either connect to it using Google Tag Manager, or you can get like a developer, and they can then connect that to your analytics system. So it can be a way of saying, like for example, you can add a bit of event code to a button to like for a click event, and a developer can connect that to your analytics system, and you can look at that and say, okay, I got this much traffic from Facebook, and like I know because I've got this event code that like 40% of my Facebook traffic clicked on this button, but 70% of my email traffic clicked on this button. So it can be a good way of seeing like how, as an example, how different traffic sources are interacting with your page. Like maybe this would explain why email traffic is converting better than Facebook traffic, like as an example. So what we are doing now is we are doing a bit of this for you. We are pushing common events to a data layer. So the adding event code part, for certain common events, like we're doing that now. The events we're firing are these ones here. So if you were to get a developer to hook into, to try and hook into these events, this is what you would tell them to look for. So like CVT click or CVT lead, CVT initiate checkout, CVT purchase. And what they are doing is CVT click is an event that is fired whenever someone clicks a button on your page that isn't set to open checkout. CVT lead is when someone signs up through a Convertri form, and that'll be through API and HTML. Initiate checkout is when someone clicks an open checkout button, and purchase is when someone buys an item through the Convertri cart. So Convertri will now automatically fire all these events. Like, you don't have to do any custom code for it. Like, this will just happen. You can get Google Tag Manager to add tags or to trigger events or to trigger things happening based on these events. So you can tell it, let's say you've got two different buttons on your page, and you want to find out which one is being more popular. You can tell Google Tag Manager to add a certain tag when it gets a CVT click event with one button's element ID, and a different tag when it gets a CVT click event with a different button's element ID, and it can send that information to your analytics system, and you can use that to get some data to make some decisions on your page. Whoops, I'm going a bit too fast. This here, this help article, which I will stick in the chat as well. I think you'll be able to copy that down if needed. That's our general reference for it. That explains the events, and it explains what data is sent for each event. So if you send a developer to that help article, they will have everything they need there to know where to find the data that Convertri is sending, and they will then be able to take and pipe it into your analytics system. So it's definitely a bit technical, but when you know how to use these things, it's a very good way of finding a bit more information on your page. And hopefully, now we are sending these events automatically, it'll make your life a bit easier. Obviously, as you come to use this thing a bit more, if you find there are other events you would like us to be sending, then please do send an email into the support desk, explain what the event is, maybe someone scrolled 50% the way down, or has scrolled maybe scrolled below 800 pixels, so they're below the fold, maybe something like that. If these things will be useful, they're all they should all be fine to code in. We just need to know that people want them. Okay, the final feature, which I will switch back to Convertri for. So this final feature is another, it's another analytics and another tracking-based thing. But something that I think rather more people will be familiar with. So if we go to Account and Integrations, you'll see there's a new option up here for Facebook conversion. Now, again, if you came to last month's update webinar, then you would have heard me talk about this in the in the What's Coming Up section. And so for a while, we've been working on an integration for the Facebook conversion API. This is something that, like, I imagine quite a few people are familiar with now. Obviously, with Apple's latest operating system, they're blocking a lot of the tracking that Facebook would usually do just via the Pixel. So they've rebranded their server-side events as Conversion API, and this is their way of getting around some of it. Like, even with the Conversion API, you're still not going to get all the data. Like, it's not going to be like it was before Apple released this. Update, but it's definitely better than having the Pixel alone. So this is currently the first step in what we're working towards is like a proper Facebook conversion API integration. Quite a lot of the work on our side is done, and again, if you were at last month's webinar, you probably would have heard me say very similar things. We currently have an integration for the Pixel itself, which I'll be showing you in a minute. This is the first step to a full API integration. The step we are currently on is getting our code approved by Facebook itself. We've got to go through their fairly Byzantine approvals process, and that is what we're doing at the moment. I would like to say it's going to be coming out fairly soon, because certainly, like, most of our work is done, but I don't entirely know that. I don't know how long getting this approval from Facebook is going to take. But the first step, like the Pixel integration itself, that is live in the app as of 2 days ago. So this just came out on Tuesday. So now you can integrate your Facebook Pixel directly with your Convertri account. Nice and simple to do. All you need to do is copy in your Pixel ID. So you find that if you go to your Events Manager in Facebook. So this is our test pixel. This number here that is below the pixel, you can copy that, stick it in there, hit save, and that's all you need to do to integrate the pixel. And what that means is that when the pixel is integrated, Convertri will automatically add it to all of your pages, like whenever you do a republish. So you won't need to add your Facebook pixel as a separate bit of code, as a separate script. Like, you won't have to put it in Tag Manager. That will just be added automatically for you. And as well as that, it will also automatically fire certain events. So you might know that to have the Facebook pixel fire event code, you need to take that code, add that code into your pixel and stick it on certain pages. So for a lead event, you might take a bit of your pixel code and stick it on the thank you page as an example. And that's kind of okay, but it can be a bit confusing when you don't really know what you're doing with the code. And it's also not entirely reliable, because in that particular example, that will fire whenever someone hits your thank you page. So whenever, if someone just happens to find it, or if they go back to it, that will fire that lead event again, which can throw off your numbers a bit. With this integration, we are firing 3 events automatically, so initiate checkout, lead, and purchase. And these will work the same way they do with the data layer. So initiate checkout will happen when someone clicks a button that's set to open checkout. The lead will happen on a form submission, and it'll happen on an actual form submission. It won't happen on the load of the thank you page. It'll happen when the form itself is submitted. So when the actual lead happens. And purchase, anyone buys a product through the Convertri cart, that will fire the purchase event. And that will mean you won't have to worry about that, setting up that code yourself. Convertri will just do that for you. All you'll need to do is set up your pixel at Facebook's end so that your domain can receive those events. And these are the main features that we have released this month. Does anyone have any questions on this stuff before I move on to the stuff we're currently working on, the stuff that's upcoming? Okay, that looks like a no. So yeah, a couple of things to show you that we're working on at the moment. And again, this is this is stuff that's like in here because let's say it's a test account. So it's got a load of stuff which hasn't passed like testing completely yet, or is still like in the process of development. But this is what we're working on at the moment. This is what we are hoping to release in the next few weeks. So first thing is some extra stuff in the form widget. So we have some new field types, which you probably won't be able to see, but I'll add them in here. So you can now have an address block, or you will be able to have an address block. And this is something that you would be able to build this like through an entire set of text elements if you wanted. Like you could add a text element for each input and like set the types and so on manually. This is really a convenience because it keeps them together. Like you can move the whole block up and down rather than doing it for each individual element. So it just makes things a little bit easier. You can also have radio buttons, or again, you will be able to very soon. So allowing people to choose from different items within the form. And again, these are going to work again exactly like the equivalent inputs do when you're adding them directly to the page. So for address input, again, it's like it was a set of text elements. You can assign field types to each individual bit. You can have any individual input pre-filled from a query string. Adjust the placeholder text. And you can set the entire block to be required or not. With radio buttons, again, you can have as many different options as you like. And adjust the text for the option names. And if we add them on, you can see the full address block on the form. So 2 different address fields. Address to actually that whether or not you mark as required, address to itself won't be a required input because just not everyone has them. Some people only have the single address line, and we don't want to stop you getting those leads. The radio button takes the same options as the checkbox in the list settings. So in form settings, if you go to list settings, the item color here will affect both the tick box on the checkbox and the radio button selected color. But probably the most interesting update we've got coming up for the form widget is that we're going to be getting bump sales in here as well. So again, to show this off, we'll just first of all just add a product to a page because obviously it's a bump sale. I think I've actually only got the one product set up on this account, but for these purposes, I don't think that'll matter. Now we just add this. Actually, let's just make this into a little checkout form. So we'll have text. You'll have the email. We'll collect the name as well. The credit card input on there. Button settings, yeah, purchase. Set buy now, $47 for the label. Bump sale, again, we'll choose our product. Again, I've only got one product set up on this account, so we're just putting the same one in there twice. Save that, and that has built us, it's built us a little checkout form, like nice and easy. We can adjust the text. So again, when you've got the bump sale in there, there is a bump sale settings option in the form settings area of the properties panel, which will let you change the heading and description. You see I've already got my light base text in here for these. But you can change them to whatever you want. And if we adjust the background slightly, you can see the bump sale area itself tries to stay in relation to the background color you're setting on the form. So it's always nicely picked out. So that is, let's say that is coming up toward the end of testing at the moment. Hoping this will be released probably, I mean, it might even be next week. I think probably more likely the week after. But that is, yeah, this form widget is developing into like quite a nice comprehensive little builder now, I think. Because obviously you can build in like the multi-step functionality as well. So you can turn this into like a two-step checkout with the bump sale on it. There's quite a lot of flexibility there, and obviously it's a lot quicker than building forms like this up entirely from scratch. So that is something which is coming up pretty soon. The other thing we are currently working on is we have quite a big new module in the works, which we are currently slating for release in early November. And I can show you where we're up to with that as well. So this is our new funnel designer. And what we're doing is putting together something which will let you design more comprehensive funnels in Convertri. So in the funnels themselves, like you saw with the with that demo funnel I was using, we have this like little flow diagram with the arrows between the pages and so on. But there's generally more to funnels than that. Like you've got different traffic sources, you're adding things like autoresponders, like stuff you wouldn't normally do in Convertri. It's not just the pages. So we are trying to build in a module that will let you plan out your funnel a bit more comprehensively. And not just that, but also simulate it. So you can tell, like, is this plan I've got actually going to make money or not? So like I say, we're hoping to release this early November. And let me show you where we're up to with this now. So okay, so create a new funnel design. So if we planned out like a simple lead funnel. So I have a simple lead funnel and we'll stick a product at the end of it. So we're going to use an opt-in page and a thank you page, and we'll have a sales page. And we're building this to work, like this is going to work basically just like the Convertri editor does. So you drag the elements on, that is all freeform. There's a properties panel to set the different options. So when you know how the Convertri editor works, like using this should be incredibly simple. Currently we've got like 11 different types of pages in here. So like opt-ins, applications, sales, upsell, downsell, checkouts, like webinar replay, fair variety there. And there's different like other components as well. Again, things that you wouldn't necessarily do in Convertri itself. So webinars, autoresponders, and planning traffic sources. So we connect our funnel together. And let's say we're going to drive paid traffic to this one. So we can plan it out. Obviously, that looks pretty simple, but I think the actual power of this comes in the simulation as much as the planning, because this is what lets us see, like, okay, under the assumptions we've got, are we actually going to be profitable with this? So let's set our opt-in conversion rate. Let's say 40%. Let's say we think we're going to get a 40% conversion rate from this opt-in page. From the opt-in page, they're going to go to the thank you page. And we think most of those are going to click through straight to the sales page. Let's say we get a 90% click-through rate from the thank you page to the sales page. On the sales page, we're going to have a product. So again, it pulls these products like from what you've got set up in Convertri. And these details, like again, I've selected the ultimate sales funnel guide. So it's pulled the price directly from what we've got set up in Convertri at the moment. It's there at 47 bucks. Cost of sale will be the shipping cost if you've got one on the product. But obviously you can add more stuff to this. So if it's like a printed book, you can add things like cost of print in there and so on. But let's say this is a little product that's just trying to get a bit of money back from the paid traffic. So we're going for like break even on this funnel. We want leads and break even on the money. So let's say we're going to sell that for 17 bucks and it'll be digital, so there's no cost of sale. And let's say we let's say we had a conversion rate of 10%. 10% on there. And with the traffic, let's say we can get clicks for 75 cents. No commission on them because this is going to be traffic that we're paying for rather than that we're paying an affiliate for. And let's say we send 1,000 clicks through it. So we can now see the numbers through here. We get 1,000 clicks to the opt-in page, which means 400 people convert. So we get 400 leads. 360 of those go to the sales page, and that means 36 sales. And if we hit the simulate button, it'll tell us, okay, that gets us 612 in revenue, but we're paying 750 bucks for traffic. So we're going to lose about $140 like on this funnel as we've got it currently planned. So we could think, okay, well, maybe we can try and get traffic a bit cheaper. But maybe we're not sure how we can do that. So let's see what happens if we add a downsell in there. So let's have a downsell. And let's say we're selling the downsell for 7 bucks. And again, no cost of sale. And let's say we get a conversion rate of 30% on that one. So again, we're just putting in numbers here that like we feel are reasonable. And we say like under these assumptions, like, oh, do we think we're going to make our money back? And on the sales page, we can see here at the moment it's set to say like, okay, everyone who doesn't buy the product goes down the no thanks link. That's probably not realistic. So let's switch that off and customize it a bit. Let's say only like 70% of them rather than the full 90 of people who don't convert. Now let's try simulating again. And that's put us into profit. So we know that it's like if we do this funnel, like we probably want to get this downsell in there as well. So we've got a fair amount. We've got a fair amount coming on here. Like we're going to be building out. We're currently building out a projections area which can do a lot more reporting. So you'll be able to see like traffic over time, sales, like you'll be able to model recurring sales and so on. That's in a whole new area. And we're also developing that is something that I see Robin has actually suggested here. Do like an export of the completed funnel to present to prospective customers. And like, yes, that is going in here as well as a like we're adding a proposal section where you'll be able to like take a like you'll be able to take the funnel design that you've made, you'll be able to take the projections, and it will turn these into a nice proposal document where you can like add in like any text you want to talk about your idea, like add in anything about next steps, and it'll just turn that into a really nice looking PDF. So you can just hand that over to your client and be like this is what I'm going to build for you. This is how much money it's going to make. Here's what you've got to do to hire me. And for anyone who is working with clients, like I think that's going to be quite a big boost. Obviously, like I said, this is still a few weeks out. Like we're still looking at fairly early days in this. Like I'd like to get in some more accurate modeling, some more page types, and we are hoping for like quite a nice like Convertri hook in as well, which hopefully I'll be revealing to you next month. But I don't want to get hopes up too much yet because I don't know how realistic that's going to end up being. The dev team may end up shouting at me. But that's how it's looking at the moment, and I think it's looking pretty good, if I'm honest. So this is stuff we've got upcoming. Does anyone have any questions on this? Edward, I can see you've got a question in there. I'll just deal with that in the Q&A section at the end. Okay, so let's go to the next bit of this. Just quickly covering like what else is happening with Convertri at the moment, just other stuff that you might find interesting. So let's switch back to. So what else is going on? Only a couple little bits to talk about this month. Are things that you like. These are things which you might well have seen in the Facebook group already, but you might have missed them. So we'll just give you a quick recap. So Andy is currently running a podcast called Funnel Masters. Now this is something where he basically goes out, talks to like some of the most like successful businesses we can find about the funnels that they've got, and digging into like the funnels they've used, maybe the funnels their customers have used, the things they have found that work really well for them. And I think he's up to episode 5 at the moment. The 6th one should be coming out. Pretty soon. There's links here for where you can find the episodes on YouTube and Spotify. I'll just stick the YouTube one in the chat for you. But actually, if I just flick over to that, like this is the channel at the moment. See, these are the episodes that are up. So he's talked to videos. He's talked to email marketing heroes. A guy called Richard Fairburn who's doing some really very clever stuff on with ecom, and like he's kind of tied together eBay and Shopify It's got a very clever system about that. My favorite one is probably Wilco. Got a whole lot of stuff from that. Like Wilco has done a ridiculous amount of money with with ads to webinars on Facebook. And I think Ryan, as in the company behind Interactor, I think he's also done quite a lot in like software and webinars as well. So yeah, so those are the episodes that are up there at the moment. Very much recommend you go watch them. If you only got time for one, watch Wilco because it's brilliant. And the other thing, that happened that you might have missed, Dan recently ran a training webinar on website building with Convertri. So in that, so something that again I talked about. Sorry about that. Something I talked about last month. We are trying to do we're trying to adjust the kind of webinar schedule that we've been doing. Recently, we've just been running the Getting Started webinar a lot, trying to get new people up to speed. We've now put that on more like an auto webinar format, so it's still available for new signups. Like anyone who is just getting into Convertri or just wants a refresher, like you can go and sign up and like watch it anytime you want. But for the live ones, we're trying to do like a bit of a different schedule. So we're doing one like in-depth training webinar a month and one like update webinar, which is this one. This month's training webinar was Dan talking about website building. So he was going through how to build a website like just from scratch in Convertri, how to use menus and shared headers and footers just to make your life easy when you're doing it, how to connect to WordPress, like particularly with a blog, if you want to attach a blog to your website, and run through how to do that, showing how to link pages together, add privacy policies. It was a very popular call, had an awful lot of people on it. The replay is up in the knowledge base at the moment. And again, there is a link for you, which I'll stick in the chat because they haven't invented effective touchscreens for this stuff yet. So again, if you are interested in website building, definitely well worth a look. Or even if you're not, even if you just want if you want a refresher, maybe you were there, but you want to catch up with it, that recording is available in the knowledge base. You can watch it anytime you want. And that's what's been going on. The next one of these will be running on I think it's the 21st of October. Jane is going to be running this one. It's her first one, so she is both like excited and terrified at the same time. I think she's going to be doing a webinar on actions and events and how the system works, what events are available for different elements, and how to wire them all together into some interesting effects. So that's what's coming up there. Obviously, you'll get the registration page. The emails will go out a bit closer to the time. If there are any particular topics that you would like for training webinars, then please do let us know in the Facebook group, or email support. We're always up for ideas about this kind of stuff. So we know that we're giving you the kind of training that you will find useful, like in how to use Convertri. And I think that's everything I've got today. So we are now onto the general Q&A. I will have a quick scan through the chat. I know I saw a couple of questions in there. I'll have a quick scan through that to see if there's any that I've missed. While I'm doing that, please do add any questions you've got to the end of the chat, and I will go through as many as I can. Okay, Edward's asked, I signed up for the beta webinar module. I haven't received anything yet. Can you say something about that? Okay, if you mean the auto webinar section of the app, then let me show you where to get that. Okay, so basically from your dashboard here, if you have auto webinars enabled on your account, you can find that to the left over here. So I don't know that there'll be there won't be like a different login or anything like that. You'll just access it directly from your Convertri account. If you click in there, you'll be able to access that area. If if that doesn't come up on your account and you think it should, then email support, let them know. If you've got a receipt, obviously, if you've got a receipt for purchasing that section, send that in and someone will enable it for you. Ingrid's asking, you had a general session on funnel building on September 16th. When will the next one be? I think that was Dan's website webinar. So, in fact, like I was saying just now, we're doing the next training webinar. That will probably be on the 21st of October. And that one will have Jane covering actions and events. And again, if there's a specific topic that you would like covered, whether it's whether it's a specific thing like actions and events, or more general, like how do you build a funnel in Convertri, like all of this stuff is fine. Please do let us know either in the Facebook group or support, and we will schedule one for one of the months coming up. Okay, Brian has a question, and it's quite a long one, so give me a minute while I read through it. Okay, so Brian's saying, looking to start selling on Facebook Marketplace, looking for an option to direct buyers to a checkout where they can enter their details, considering Convertri link to PayPal. Is Convertri an all-in solution for completing the sale, refunds, capturing customer details, and so on? Notice all examples reference Stripe, but assume PayPal works just as well. So yes, you can use Convertri for a complete checkout system like that. So it will, if you set up your buy button. In fact, let me see if I can just dive in here. So obviously this here is using this is with our form widgets to set up the checkout form. You don't have to use the form widget. You could use the modal checkout. You could build your own checkout page direct from Elements if you want. So there's quite a lot of flexibility there. But they all work basically the same way. To set this kind of thing up on Convertri, you'd make sure, for PayPal, all you'd need to do is have a submit button that was set to purchase and have PayPal integrated into your account. For Stripe, you would also need to make sure you had the credit card fields added. But yes, once you've got that, Convertri will let you process the sales. It'll let you do refunds. It'll capture the customer details. Like they'll either go straight into the prospect section, or if you set up a form integration on your page. So here, there's a range of autoresponders that you can attach APIs to. Then if you've got the form attached as well, then those customer details will be submitted to your autoresponder as well, so you'll capture them that way. So you can handle all that through Convertri. If you're looking to do some more advanced cart stuff, then you might want to just use Convertri for the pages and use like a third-party cart system. But certainly for everything you've mentioned, Convertri can handle that just fine. In terms of the payment processors, we have Stripe and PayPal both as options. You can use one or both. With PayPal, the PayPal integration works by having the PayPal button on the page, and that will open a PayPal modal. So you don't need to worry about any of the like credit card fields or so on if you're using PayPal. With Stripe, they will enter their details on the page, so you'll need it for that. But in general, like I wouldn't say one works better than the other. They both do the same job. Like they will both take customers' money. They will both like sell your product. They will both capture the customer details. You'll be able to process refunds with both of them. So that shouldn't make any difference for you. Okay. Is there any specific training module I would advise looking at for setting up checkouts? I think we have something in the knowledge base. Let's have a look. So we have a whole set of articles on products and payments. So there's quite a lot of options here, depending on what you want to do. So you can there's things in there like how to apply tax, how to create a modal checkout is quite a good one if you want to like just set it up that way. Let's see if we have any training on like more like end-to-end stuff. I would probably try this one here. So creating the funnel from opt-in to checkout, and then I'll copy that link and I'll stick it in the chat for you. Now that will be, this is obviously talking about creating an entire funnel. So not just like the checkout page that you're after. But I mean, you don't have to watch the whole thing. Like it's on YouTube, you can skip through like to the relevant part. But that should have a section on creating a checkout page. I think that one is talking about how to create a checkout page, like direct from elements on the page itself. But that will show you how to do that within Convertri, like attach the products and so on. So that's probably a good place to start. And obviously, if you come up with any like specific questions as you're working through them, do ask in the Facebook group. That's generally quite a good way of getting advice. You can go with the support desk as well. One of us will definitely, like if you email into the support desk, you will absolutely get an answer. In the Facebook group with something like that, it might just be a bit faster. Like if it's more like a how do I use Convertri for this question, as opposed to a like this thing seems to be broken question. ER is saying, I could not find the last training on building a website from a few weeks ago. That is, I think I've actually put the link in the chat box already, but if you go to training webinars, easiest way is probably sort by A to Z. But so knowledge base, training webinar section, and then it's called website building with Convertri. So if you sort by A to Z, it'll be right at the end of the list. So it should be nice and easy to find. And I'll stick that link in the chat again. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, I think that looks like everything. Okay, I'll hang around for another couple of minutes. So if you do think up anything like last minute, please do feel free to stick it in the chat. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming. I hope you've I hope you got something useful out of it, like seeing the new stuff that we're doing, the new stuff we're working on. And hopefully next month I'll be showing you a couple of other new features and that funnel designer in an almost ready state, which should be quite exciting. Okay, yep, that does look like it. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for being a fantastic audience, and I hope to see you again next month. Recording of this should be in the knowledge base probably early next week, should you want a refresher. Thanks very much. I will see you next time.